You'll probably be surprised to hear me say the Bible doesn't actually teach you to attend church. Well, what it's telling us here in this passage is that we don't just need to attend church, but that we need to belong to a church. And what's the difference between attending and belonging? I attended a basketball game this past week. I didn't talk to anyone other than the lady behind the concession stand who gave me my hot dog. I didn't connect with anyone who was on the court and learn about how I could play like they play. I went, I watched, I was amazed, I left. And there's a difference between attending a game and being on the team. Now, obviously, not everybody at the game can play. There's a lot of people that are just going to attend. But at church, there's a way that we can all be involved and we can all serve. Tim Keller has pointed out that a congregation is very different than an aggregation. An aggregation is what you get when you gather a group of people and they're all just listening to a lecture, or they're watching a movie, or they're watching a play. A congregation is different because there is this connection. He said that an aggregation is like a bag of marbles. Yeah, they're together and they look similar, but you pour them out and they go running off in all these different directions. A bag of grapes are connected organically to one another. And the church is to be organically connected to one another through a common vine that is Jesus Christ. You can actually attend church every Sunday and fail to honor what this passage of Scripture calls us to do. Because it doesn't call you to merely attend church, it calls you to assemble. It calls you to belong. It calls you to be connected. In fact, it's actually possible to find a church based on the level of involvement you want to have. There are churches that you can go to, and it is designed, it is structured for you to take in content, be inspired, and leave, and that's it. Our church is not like that. We're not designed to have an audience. Rather, we're designed to have a congregation, a place where people are connected. We are not a place that you attend. We're a place that you belong. Nicole recently ordered new beds for the kids. They arrived on our doorstep, and I looked at the size of the boxes, and I knew I had just lost an entire Saturday. Because the bed was there, but it was not assembled. All of the pieces were in the box, but there was going to be a whole lot of work to put those pieces together. The bed had arrived, but the work had just begun. And when we get everyone together, the work hasn't stopped. It is just starting. We're just getting started on the work that we're called to do. In this passage of Scripture, they are called to assemble together. And that's not just a word that means to gather. It's a word that means to weave. It's a word that means to connect. What we see in this passage of Scripture and in all of Scripture is that the New Testament church was not just a place that they attended, it was a place that they belonged. It was a gathering that they were part of. It was where they were held accountable and challenged to grow in their faith. Now, because there's this differing idea of what it means to belong to a church, it's really common for there to be churches where there's only a dozen people there on Sunday, but there's 400 people on the membership roll. And those 400 people, wherever they might be, think of themselves as belonging to that church because their name is written on a piece of paper, but they're not a part of it. It's also common today for there to be churches where there are thousands of people and there are no members and there are very few people that are engaged in ministry and very few who belong to groups where they're held accountable. We want to be a church where people are assembling, where they're gathering and being connected.